Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. ArcelorMittal South Africa will place a 600 Rand a tonne surcharge on domestically sold carbon steel as from May the 1st. This has led to some discomfort within government and among steel consumers. Engineering News editor Terence Creamer has been monitoring developments and joins me to discuss the ramifications. Terence, welcome to Second Take. What led to this surcharge and how is it being justified?
Well, it goes back to South Africa's minerals legislation, which demands that you convert your mineral rights from an old order which was privately owned to a new order where you get a license from the government to operate your mine. So what happened in 2001 is ISCOR was unbundled and there was a steel company formed, which is now ArcelorMittal South Africa, and a mining company which is now Kumba Iron Ore as well as Exxaro. But in April last year, there was a deadline for converting of those rights. And ArcelorMittal felt it was unnecessary for them to convert a right which they saw as a right within a bigger right that had been converted by Kumba Iron Ore, or the Sishen Iron Ore Company in this case. They therefore didn't apply to convert those rights. Both the Department of Mineral Resources as well as Kumba felt that that was a strategic error, was an error of judgment, and that the right has therefore reverted back to the custodian, which is the state. And in fact, the government has now granted a prospecting right over that resource at Sishen, and it's gone to a little-known company called Imperial Crown Trading. So you can see it's got a lot of history, this dispute, but basically what has happened is Sishen Iron Ore Company, or through Kumba, is saying that now you've lost that right, the supply agreement of 2001 is cancelled, and you can no longer get your iron ore at a cost plus 3%, on a cost plus 3% basis, as has hitherto been the case. And you must now start paying commercial rates. Now, these commercial rates are vastly higher than what ArcelorMittal South Africa has been paying up to this point for its iron ore. In fact, they said yesterday that it is a full $100 a tonne more than what they were paying, which I think people were saying anywhere between $30 and $40 a tonne is what they have been paying up to this point. So you can see it's a massive leap. And in order to recover this new big cost surge, Mittal wants to impose a surcharge from tomorrow, May 1, of 600 Rand a tonne, or around $80 a tonne, to recover part of that, which they say won't come through into their income. It's going to be listed as a liability in its statement, and if they win the arbitration dispute with Kumba, the money will then go back to the consumer. If they don't, it's a contingent liability on their books and it will flow to Kumba. So that's how the surcharge has come about. It's in some ways very unsatisfactory. People are saying it's, suddenly you've changed your pricing model. They're claiming, as ArcelorMittal, that no, this is not a change to our pricing model. It's just management intervening to deal with a cost that was not expected.
Are these the only increases that we should anticipate?
Well, that's also a difficult question to answer. We sit here now as letters are being drafted to the ArcelorMittal Steel customers. Those letters will probably go out later today, and they'll probably indicate that there might be other increases to the base steel price. Not the surcharge, but the actual steel price that they charge, which they calculate as ArcelorMittal South Africa on a basket of countries, 4 countries, and then they adjust it for a forecast that they have for the Rand versus dollar, and then they set the steel price on a monthly basis, and those letters are just about to go out, and every indication is that if we don't get an increase in June, it's quite possible that we'll get increases from July.
What are some of the possible implications for industry and for government's industrialization plans?
Well, this is very significant. Steel is a major input into just about everything. And if you take it together with the fact that we've got electricity price increases coming through, they're already starting to come through for industry, for consumers or residential users from July. These are 2 major inputs that are going to be rising at a time that South Africa has set a target of rebuilding its manufacturing base through its Industrial Policy Action Plan 2, or RPAP 2. So we've got this misalignment between what's happening on the cost side of the economy and the aspiration to build a competitive manufacturing industry. And there's an awareness within government of this misalignment, of the fact that steel is a very vital input. Obviously, there's a lot of unhappiness amongst customers. I mean, for one, how are we going to get the money back that we're going to be paying this $80 a tonne more? How do we get it back? If I'm a small consumer and I've bought it through a trader, who gets the money? There are discussions underway as to mechanisms to get that money back, but it's unsatisfactory, really. And then from a national perspective, it really doesn't make sense that you're having these surging inputs into the real economy when you're wanting to boost your industrial production.
How do you see this matter being resolved?
Well, it looks like it's going to take some time to resolve. I think we heard yesterday that 18 months is the sort of window that we're working within. Hopefully it will be done soon. But there's legal papers going between the two companies. Kumba's already given its reason for why it sees that the agreement should be cancelled. And they've also suggested the panelists that should be part of the arbitration panel. ArcelorMittal has promised that over the next month they will respond to that and suggest their panel members. But as you can see, these are long-winded processes, and in the interim we don't have a satisfactory situation because the surcharge is coming through, plus in addition we're going to have probably increases in steel prices. There hasn't been a political intervention or intervention at another end to sort of stem these growing cost tides. So it's going to take time, and there's going to be pain during this period. And the arbitration process, will that be the end? Possibly, but there's other legal instruments that maybe ArcelorMittal could also use, going all the way through to, what are their constitutional rights in terms of property rights and all sorts of things. So whether this thing will be resolved in 18 months or not is quite unclear. And unfortunately, in the interim, we're all going to struggle with these higher prices.
Terence, thank you very much. That is the Second Take show for this week. Thank you for watching, and join us again next time for more news analysis.